Hey everybody, Eric Monroe, financial advisor and employee benefit consultant. I have a very important topic to talk about today, and this is directed to business owners, CPAs, CFOs, HR executives, and it is about the importance of running a compliant retirement plan. So, if you sponsor a retirement plan or your company sponsors a retirement plan, it can be extremely complicated, perhaps more than you know. Um, and I'll give you one example. There is a compliance requirement for a retirement plan almost every month of the year. Here's a 2021 compliance calendar. Every month, there are things that need to be done in order to run the plan. And my question to you is, do you think that you are running your plan compliantly? And if you're not, how do you know? So I provide a fiduciary governance review process for all my clients and even people that are not my client but want that unbiased third party review of what they're doing, what employers are doing to run their plan, and to make sure that they're checking all the boxes and that they do have a compliant plan. And if not, know where the weaknesses are and know solutions in order to fix them. So, right off the bat, you have to understand that there are two types of fiduciaries to run a plan: what they call a named fiduciary, which is actually the person on the document that says trustee, etc. And then there are unnamed fiduciaries. And those unnamed fiduciaries are the people behind the scenes that are actually helping to run and process the plan, but are not named on the trust document. But people that are pushing the buttons to do the deferrals, talking to employees about hardship withdrawals, answering questions about loans, things of that nature where you're actually interacting with the individual participants, do also carry some fiduciary liability for the plan, for the owner, for the named trustee. So I come in, and a couple of things that I look at is right off the bat, the deferrals. Are the deferrals from individual participant paychecks going into the retirement plan on a timely basis? So when you withhold money from an employee's paycheck, you have 2 to 3 days typically to make sure that that money is deposited. Um, in my current world, in the administrative world, there's only a review of those deposits once per year. So if a deposit was missed or a deposit was late, those are things that you can't really uh, you can fix, but it's after the fact. So you're better off knowing that you have an airtight process set up so that you are not going to be doing late deferrals and that you're not going to be missing deferral payments into the retirement plan, and that your process creates an accurate way in order for you to process those. Super important. That's one of the other things that I review going in here. Other things, your ERISA bond or your Fidelity bond, we want to make sure that that's of the appropriate amount and that you have one. Your summary plan description, uh, you wouldn't believe how many times I look at summary plan descriptions, and they're old, they're outdated, they have companies change names, they've changed their plan provisions, they're not updated with new laws and legislation that affect all plans. Your summary plan description is what employees really rely on in order to understand in English, understand exactly how the plan is set up and it runs. I also want to know what the process is for the employer to document that all required disclosures were provided to the employees. Um, you have to have a process in place. You have to know that if the Department of Labor, the IRS, does a pop-in audit, and one of the first things they're going to ask for is, please show me that you handed out the required disclosures and prove your employees got it, and what is your process? And if you can't answer those questions, they're going to continue to dig deeper, thinking that there's going to be more for them to find, and more fees that they can get out of the business. You don't want to have to deal with that. So you have to have a process in place to be able to document everything that you're doing and show that process to anybody that comes in. Part of that is keeping track of all the documents. So the plan documents, the actual trust, any amendments, any restatements, any changes to the plan document, you have to keep on file forever. as long as the plan is up and running. And when the plan is closed and all the money's distributed, you still have to keep that paperwork for another 7 years. So you better have a pretty good process in place on where to how to file them, where to file them, and make sure that they're not going to get misplaced or ruined. Perhaps you want to set up a way to document them electronically. But those are some of the options and things we talk about. The 5500s, the financial reports, the valuations, the testing, the safe harbor notices, the fee disclosures, all of those need to be on file for 6 years from when they were distributed. So every 6 years you can get rid of the 7th year's documents. You can shred those and get rid of them. But you have to have a process in place knowing that you can, what you keep and what you don't keep. The participant documents, you got to keep these forever. Every participant document, applications, deferral election forms, when they were hired, when they were terminated, their eligibility, census data, you have to keep all of that for the life of the plan. A lot of companies maybe don't, and if they do, perhaps it's haphazard. You got to tighten up these, and these are best practices. They have to be tight. Data security, you have to have a way to keep your employees' data, including their retirement plan information like I just described. All of that has to be secure. And there are ways and processes and products that will help you do that. I also oftentimes run across when we receive census data. So every year we request an update. Who are the employees? When were they hired? When were they terminated? How many hours did they work? How much money did they put in the plan? And oftentimes we do find mistakes. Personally, our company gets the payroll data, W-2s, and we cross-reference it. We try to make sure that it's accurate. But it's the old adage, junk in, junk out. You give your TPA, your administrator, inaccurate information. They're not liable for that, but they are going to use that data in order to process and do your reporting and your evaluation and testing and so forth. So you have to give them accurate census data. And maybe that's a process that could be put in place that's ongoing and not just done once a year in the heat of the moment. Beneficiary forms, very, very important. A lot of carriers, record keepers, do not keep the beneficiary forms on file. That is the responsibility of the employer. But the employer should have a backup and accurate, updated beneficiary information. When the employee passes away, the record keeper doesn't know who the beneficiary is. They're going to go to you and look for that form. If you can't provide that form, that is not something that should ever happen. So there's got to be, again, best practice. There has to be procedures and policies put in place, reviewed, and followed to make sure that that doesn't happen. Onboarding and offboarding communication. Onboarding, make sure they get the eligibility requirements, the summary plan description that I mentioned. Offboarding, they need to know what their options are to either keep or move their retirement account that's currently with the company. Documents for trustee meetings, educational meetings. We want to be able to show anybody that comes in that there has been an effort to comply with the fiduciary requirements of doing educational meetings and annual trustee reviews, and what the outcome was. Was there a recommendation to make any investment changes? And if there were, what is the backup? What is the reason for you to take one investment out and put another one in, or to add an investment, or to take one out? What were the topics that were discussed with the employees during an educational meeting? Was that delivered via video conference? Was it a recorded webinar? Was it in writing? Was it in person? Those are important. Another key thing that we run across, and that is a constant discussion with clients, is that they have to understand what the plan document, which is the document that tells you how to run the plan, how does it describe compensation? So there might be a compensation definition of all compensation, but maybe there's a match that's being done for only base, not bonuses or commission. That's in violation of your document. There's got to be certain coordination and absolute no question about what the definition of compensation is and how that relates to matches and so forth, and profit sharing contributions in a plan. Your procedures for hardship withdrawals, and now especially with COVID, there were a lot of hardship withdrawals and loans that were taken out for people. Again, the plan document specifically outlines exactly what the definition of a hardship withdrawal is and what the terms of a loan is or are. And then how to prove that there's a hardship. I can tell you that there is, but as the sponsor, you need to know and have proof that that's actually true. Do you have an eviction notice? Do you have, a bankruptcy notice? Do you have some kind of confirmation that you're going through a financial hardship? And so those are important. Again, process, procedure. Once it's set up into place and it's executed, there shouldn't be things like that to worry about. We also run across often tracking eligibility. So if there's a 1-year wait, after that 1 year, the employee is eligible to join the plan. How are they being notified? How are you tracking eligibility? What is the notification? Again, policies, procedures. And I guess, the big thing is what is your process for housing all these documents, making sure all these documents are executed properly, making sure that the rules set forth in the trust document, the retirement plan itself, are known and being followed, again, not only by the named trustee, but also the unnamed trustee. So what I offer is a service to come into the companies, offer an unbiased third-party review of their governance practices, and again, provide them the feedback of things they're doing correctly, things that they could improve on, and how to do that. And that is just a valuable service. So if anybody's interested in that, I hope you got some information here that is helpful. Go to your current advisors, but if you want an independent third-party review, I think this is super important. I'm happy to do that. We can discuss my process for that as well. So kindly if you like, and share with any other business owners or CFOs, HR executives you think would benefit.